Okay, let's talk about Anthem. What is it? It is a third-person loot and shooter with flight experience. Now, despite its Google review, they only gave it 57% that liked the game. Look, I think that's a bit rough because I actually quite like it. And I have the benefit that played it a year on from launch. Because, you know, these days it would seem that the people who pay for the game at the very start when it's launched, almost like beta testers. Really, these days it seems like games need at least a year worth of patches before it becomes a final release. So yes, to put it plainly, so far I really like it. I keep coming back to it, and now that it's part of the Origin Basic Access, yeah, it's dropped from Premier to Basic. I think it's incredibly good value. I mean, just look at it. It's stunning, it's pretty, and okay, I could see where maybe some people, if they paid for the game right on launch, they could have been frustrated by the full price tag of it, but the gameplay is actually really good. Very similar, I would say, to Mass Effect Andromeda. In fact, if you compare the combat, and if you compare how it was panned and released, yeah, okay, similar. So what about now? Well, in terms of the single player experience, or playing it with people you know, I think Anthem really offers a solid, unique gameplay. There's certainly something there. I can sort of see what BioWare are pushing for, of how the game is meant to be played, and that would be you start missions, people from all over the world just flock in and fill up the slots, but there's a bit of a problem. I think there's a problem with the player base in terms of the size of it. There's just no indication of how many people you might be playing with and how many people might be looking. So, you know, I just say, forget it, just set your game to private, go have fun and go play with yourself. Right. Anyway, it actually works out fine. It works out to be quite a nice single player experience anyway. In fact, on the first playthrough, you might actually want to play it as a single player campaign, because there's a whole deal of cinematics and dialogue, and some of the storytelling and cinematography is actually worthy of movie theaters. But watching these in multiplayer, I find is always kind of awkward, especially if one person has seen it before and the other hasn't, and they're like, okay, it's okay if you haven't seen it before, I'll just sit here and watch it again too. But secretly you're there thinking, oh man, just get onto it. The amount of dialogue that's in this game, the sheer amount of dialogue. I feel bad because I always feel like I'm obliged to listen to the dialogue because it's been voice acted, they've put so much work into it. But if I can read the text faster than what I can listen to it, I'm sorry, I just have to skip it. Therefore, I would say the game works fine as single player and maybe replay it in multiplayer. So the game starts with an obligatory tutorial section, and it's good to get the feel of control, and man do I like the jump, and then you proceed and get the double jump. It just has that extra pizzazz that when you have the jump you get that little extra boost with the jets, and after having a bit of fun toying with that, you get the next trick, which is flight, and that's like the signature move of this game. Honestly, soaring the landscape, the crafted scenery, it almost seems wasteful that you pass through the sections of the level so quickly, because with the flying there's just so much to be admired in the design and the artistry of the world. So how long to beat? Rates the game at about 12.5 hours, and the first couple hours have been pretty exciting so far. One thing I particularly quite like is you get to actually just click to missions rather than to travel. I feel like in some of these open world games I'm spending so much excessive time walking, driving, riding to missions, but oh my god, I prefer this design where here's your mission, click. Here you can start, click. And okay, I believe in some of those games loading is hidden in your travel to destination, whereas here you have to sit through loading screens, but they are on the longer side, but they don't seem too long. But of course I've got this game sitting on my solid state drive. Okay, I'm running this game on my Alienware, got a GTX 1060, i7 6700 and 16 gigs of RAM, and yeah, this game is a hog. My system shows that it uses 8 gigs of RAM, a whopping 8 gigs of RAM, uses 80% of my GPU power, and my CPU is bottlenecked. It's right maxed out at 100. I'm running the graphics on high setting because because I'm a bit vain and I rather suffer some frame drops to have pretty graphic, and I average around about 30, which is okay for me, but it does dip on occasion. Skill level wise, this will fit in for any players who have played shooters before. I'd say it's a little bit more advanced for the complete newbie to shooters with the flight in there, and there are some RPG elements where you get access to better loot and you have some level progression. Now, one flaw or pro, depending on how you look at it, and I've seen this mentioned, is you get all the weapons quite early on, with the late game weapons just doing more damage. Is that a good or a bad thing? Well, for me, being a person who likes to play a title, beat it, and then move on to the next game, I think it's absolutely fine. For someone that wants to see more, better and bigger stuff as you progress, I could see how they could want more than just more damage on their weapon. Combat, man, the action is good. Some weapons are more fun than others. The specials are great, the monsters, the sounds, it all fits and feels quite satisfying. As I started to progress through the game, I did start to use the matchmaking feature. Namely, you can make your game public. And I will say that this is a really fun game to play with other people. And a couple bits though. So how it works is you'll start with the matchmaking queue. If it doesn't find anybody, after about a minute or so, you'll just get placed into solo. What makes this a bit tricky is setting the right difficulty, because on some missions, you really want the difficulty to be hard. So if you have other people, it makes it just the right skill level. But then for some of those missions, if you actually play it on hard and you play solo, it actually is just a touch too difficult. And it would seem that maybe a really high level character can join your game, which makes missions way too easy, or it could be that they drop out halfway of the mission and then it's too hard to finish. So definitely a much better experience if you have a couple of friends that you always play these sort of games with, that you can go through it together, then they'll be good. There's also this quick play option where you jump into somebody else's mission. And actually, I can see the appeal of it. I've done it when I was short on time. You can actually just jump in, start playing, have fun shooting for about 10 minutes. And the reason why it's 10 minutes is each mission's about 20 minutes long. Quite often you'll join halfway, so it's already halfway finished. And it actually seems like it's a really fast way to level up and unlock some new weapons, some new gear. So I've got to try a few of these javelins. It's the name that they call these flying robots. And more or less they operate with the same mechanic, but they do have different flares and playstyles. So far my favourite's probably the Ranger and the Interceptor, with the Ranger being more of the balanced javelin out there, and Interceptor being more agile, almost like Genji from Overwatch, fighting close quarters and in your face. He even has shooting stars he can throw. And I was pleasantly impressed with the Interceptor's ultimate. All in all, I have found this game fairly addicting. I've been looking forward to when I get to play more of it. The progression feels good, and well, so my recommendation is you make 2 pilots, one for single player, one for multiplayer if you play it with someone else. And yeah, so far I find that Anthem has made me want to come back to it time and time again to see more and more. Thank you very much for watching.
Now please activate that marker. Let's see what the Arcanists left for us.